noticed.
Mike,
David?
do you have a little better idea than maybe you had last night of why you were unable to do anything offensively and what do you need to do to be better going into this game?
I mean, I think the biggest thing coming out of the game offensively is, just getting into the rhythm of the run game earlier. I think obviously would have led into more production, particularly in the protection part of it. So I think the fact that we didn't, establish the line of scrimmage consistently just factored in some big plays for their defense.
Again, short term, what is it looking like on the players that are dealing with issues going into this game? Do you have a good feel that any probably will be able to play Thursday or still too early?
Anybody specific?
C.D. Lamb, Donovan Wilson.
Donovan Wilson will not be available this week. CD was in all the meetings today, so we're hopeful he'll make it through the protocol. And Tyron, we're definitely hopeful we'll be ready to go.
I think it said both shoulder and chest for Donovan on the injury report. So what did he suffer yesterday, or where's he at?
The specifics of it, we're still working through the exact. I think I'll let the medical people release that. So it was an issue that he suffered on the play with Mahomes going out of bounds, and so they had some complications from the bruise.
You talked last night about aggressive secondary that the Denver did. That's what they did. And what does that mean? Are they physical outside on your receivers and not beating the physical coverage? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think you have two types of coverage elements that they play. More bump and run and getting their hands on you. Trying to redirect your routes and obviously free access. So we're seeing more aggressiveness, in the bump and run, more redirect. The officials let us play outside, and we got to do a better job beating those types of techniques.
When you talk about the not establishing the run game, was it kind of come in to be aggressive early, and if he hits that pass at Gallup on play one, maybe things change? Can you look at it that way?
No, definitely. No, I think that's exactly the way you look at it. I think anytime you go into an opposing stadium, particularly in that environment, I think if you hit that first play, the course of the game could change some. Definitely, there's no question in my mind. Actually, Dak and I were just visiting and talking about the footwork and the read and all the things that went into that, and just seeing it live and standing there watching the arc of the football. I felt like the wind kind of caught it right there at the end because it kind of flattened out, and so just I think like anything, you go through the corrections. You don't want to overreact and over-evaluate, because I thought it was a good throw when it came out of his hands. But big plays lead to points on offense. We definitely didn't hit the big plays last night.
Was the wind a factor at all with the passing?
I don't think so, but just to give you the pregame report, it was about an 8-yard difference between the field goals going to our right and to our left. And that was part of the decision that went into the coin toss.
Talked a lot about, for the Denver game, the physicality and the approach coming out for that game. Is there any element, obviously it's noisy, but did you get a sense that maybe some guys were even too amped up for such a big game at the start of this one?
I don't know about amped up. I know they definitely were excited to play. I think everybody was into the matchup and, the uncommon opponent. We had coaches that had never been in that stadium, so, we're human. We look forward to, those types of the competition of playing against a former, world champion, and so I wouldn't say we're too amped up. I thought the pregame was smooth, and there's nothing leading into that would make me think that we were, too excited.
How do you counter those bump and run types of situations your receivers are in? Is it just try to get off first? Is it technique? How do you try to combat some of those things?
It's technique. It's something you work on. Obviously we play bump and run on defense too. So, when you're put together the passing game and in the type of routes you run, and you're obviously or some are better than others in defeating bump and run. But also it's really what bump and run does to the offense is it puts you in a little bit of a different time clock. So the patience of bump and run, the protection component tied to those situations, it's all part of it.
your losses have all come against uncommon opponents? Are there trends between those that you can take, or do you think they were all kind of case by case?
It's a good point. Talked about today because obviously we got another one coming here on a short week. So, uncommon opponent approach is always, to me, it's been more about extra film study. So, I mean, we've built that into our schedule. You're playing against players that you may not have played against before or even in the last 4 years. So, I mean, that's all part of our uncommon opponent weekly schedule. So that's all built into how we approach these types of games.
What does today look like? What does today look like with the review of the game, and then how quickly do you go to the Raiders?
Well, we went right into the Raiders this morning. The review of the game was more done individually between the players and the coaches. Obviously with today's technology, most of our players have already watched the game before they get on the plane. The coaching staff is grading the game on the plane. So, the coaching staff has the plane, has the game graded before, pretty much most. It was a shorter flight last night, but so that's our normal process. So, but we didn't have the normal correction meetings that we would have on a Monday. We jumped right into the Raiders this morning.
I think you're averaging 20 yards less a game against that division than you are every other team in the league. Are the Raiders defensively similar to what those other three teams have done, or how do they differ? Is there
that's a cool stat. I wouldn't put a whole lot of value in it. I mean, we played the Chargers, uncommon opponent early in the year, and I think playing uncommon opponents early are a lot tougher than playing them later because, obviously had, plenty of video on both Denver and Kansas City. So I think just like every game, it's its own challenge. It's specific to the things that went on that week, what your 48 looked like versus their 48. There's so many other variables involved in that, but appreciate the research.
Yeah. Micah said yesterday you talked to the refs about being held a little bit. Do you like that out of your younger players, your rookies, to talk to the refs about what they're seeing, or would you prefer the veterans do that?
To me, it's part of the education and promotion of how you evolve in this league. We talk about the officials no different than we talk about, not to the extent, but, I actually put the officiating crew, put their names up on it. They're part of our Saturday meetings, and, I want everybody to have a name with a face, and, I think the interaction between officiating and players and coaches is important. I think it's important to try to talk to the officials at points in the games when you can. I think like anything it helps a better understanding and communication. I think the best officials I've encountered are the ones that do interact with the players on it, because it's just like anything. You're going to have situations occur in a game, particularly where personalities and the heat of competitions can get out of whack. I think it's a lot different when you go in to talk to those guys. If you have talked to them or have a relationship, as opposed to I've learned that from coaching the quarterbacks. Your quarterbacks are obviously very important, and there's always extra conversation between the quarterback and the white hats, and I think it's just all part of a young player learning how pro football works. So actually, Mike had come over and asked me who the gentleman's name was. It was Carl. So he called him Mr. Carl, and I said, "That's good. Just go talk to Mr. Carl." And so, but no, I definitely promote that.
Mike, can you walk us through the whole taunting thing? And I don't think he could have challenged that because it's technically post play, but I believe said it happened after he scored, but he pointed before he scored. Would you like to see that to be a reviewable deal, and then why your decision to push them back on the PAT and not take it on the kickoff?
Are we doing our post deal this week? Great question, Todd, because I know you need to hear that once a week. I think the taunting. I think we all agree with the intent of it, and I think, like a lot of things that I've seen coming in the league, and I just remember, coaching the free safeties when we were really trying to take the helmet out of the game, and how you had to teach your safety to defend the ball across the middle. And so to me, it's when you're trying to change something in the game of football, and I don't think anybody disagrees with we don't want taunting, but I think it comes through education and repetition. I'm not a big fan of it being part of regulation on game days, and because I think what happens is, and it happens every week, is you have different interpretations, and it's not consistently officiated, and I think it puts the officials in a really tough spot. I think it's given them a bigger challenge on Sundays, and frankly, I think their job's big enough. So, is that a good enough answer for you?
How about,
Yeah, I mean,
Do you wish that was reviewable because of where the?
Well, I mean, now we're going in. Now you got two questions: is reviewable versus not reviewable? I mean, we could talk about the play that was reviewed that wasn't supposed to be reviewed. That so I mean, yeah. So.
How about accepting the penalty and pushing it back in the PAT and not on the kickoff? What was the decision behind that?
Well, the decision was points, and that's what it came down to: points over field position. So.
Were you thinking that they would have gone for 2 because they missed the PAT earlier?
No, I just thought that 48-yard kick for a PAT is, and I mean he's got a strong leg. Don't get me wrong, but he missed the first one, so he's actually kicking with the wind there. Yeah.
The Chiefs got 16 points on their first 3 possessions and just 3 on their last 10. Was this one? How did this performance for your defense compare to the ones earlier?
It's definitely a performance we'll continue to grow off of. I was very pleased with a lot of things that happened on the defensive side of the ball. I thought they responded to and it's the energy in the building was electric to start to start the game, and I think really as a football team, especially on defense, the run that we had during the second and third quarter of I think it was 5 3 and outs. I think once our defense settled in, they really gave us a chance to win the game.
circling back on the officials real quick, I mean, the difficulty with it is that they're asked to discern between a true celebration and a show meant to disrespect the opponent, and that's really an interpretation they shouldn't be asked to make.
Yeah, I mean, I think like anything, I mean, if you look at the history, I know this has been my experience, when officials are really trying to emphasize, or the league's really trying to emphasize, a certain role or behavior, it's really done in the preseason, and they over officiate it, and they're making, and I think with that, you got to trust the players and the coaches to continue to work on it. I just think it's tough when you have this, when it's causing, it's factoring in the outcome of games, and that's a challenge, and I don't think anybody could be a fan of that.
You said you talked to Dak about his footwork. What's his mindset? I know last night he said he was pissed off.
Yeah, definitely. I think we were all disappointed, but I actually just had a nice visit with him, and he's moved on to the Raiders, and I think like anything, you normally need to get things flushed out of your system on Monday, one way or the other. I mean, you can't just dwell on the victories too. So, and playing in the Thanksgiving game, obviously he has a lot of experience playing in this game. So I think he's done a good job turning the page.
Does a short week help? I mean, I know you guys just because you have to put it out your mind and get on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the fact that we play on Thursday, and he has a lot of experience, so he's in a good headspace right now. Yes. Yeah, we're like I said, we worked on we've already installed normal down and distance and started on third down today with the team.
To what degree will y'all practice this week, and given the shortened week, how do you gauge whether Tyron's ready for Thursday?
Well, it was a big part of his workout yesterday. Britt really wanted to push him yesterday, and everything was positive coming out of the workout and how he felt today. So, yeah, I mean, tomorrow will be probably, somewhere between a Friday mock game and a Saturday launch practice mode. So, it'll be a heightened walkthrough, jog-through type practice. So, and then our Wednesday practice will be, the same speed that we do on Saturday. So that, hey, Tyron's played a lot of football. I mean, he knows his body better than anybody. So, if he's ready to go, he'll be in there.
Yeah, DeMarcus and Urban. I think Gallimore warming up. How do they feel coming out of that workout?
Coming on, I think you'll see. I think you'll see DeMarcus. He'll be activated here shortly, in the near future. So he's chomping at the bit. So I think the other two have a little more work to do.
Activated but not have a chance to play this week, or is that a possibility?
thanks, Mike, for the scoop today. I mean, so it's the first things first.
Will CD, the fact that he was in the meetings has to be viewed as
Yeah,
an
that's
encouragement?
positive. Yeah, no, I mean, it's, once he gets, there's different levels of the protocol, so the fact that he was in the meetings today is definitely a big step in the right direction.
How about Zeke, Mike? Is this
I'm sorry?
Zeke with the knees is something you feel like you can push through?
I think he will. I mean, he's. You got to remember when I ask the players, it's usually I'm fine, I'll go. So, but the conversation with the trainers, I have no reason to think he won't go. Probably the best way to answer your question.
You've had a lot of success this year with when you've lost players, other players stepping into that role and performing. Did you hit a little bit of a diminishing return on that in this past game, or was this just one of those games?
I don't know about diminishing return. You have to win that way. I mean, that's why. I mean, it's the ultimate team sport, and I mean, we have 17 games now, so unfortunately, we're probably going to have more challenges like that moving forward. I mean, we're going through a COVID situation now too, so this is today's NFL. So it's part of having a successful regular season. I mean, you're not going to line up with your first team all 17 weeks. It's just not practical.
Anyone else on the COVID list now?
Or just Cooper?
Cedric Smith.
Just our assistant strength coach, Cedric
And,
Smith.
Does that change anything to the protocols that you guys are in as a coaching staff?
Well, the mandate starts on the 25th. For going back to full protocols, we actually put them in place today, so we're fully masked indoors.
How did McGovern play in grade A?
Played okay. I mean, he's had some tough spots. I think, obviously it wasn't a great game for us up front as a whole. So, I don't think we can all do better.
Will he continue to go at left guard?
Yes, I see him as the left guard this week.
In your experience as a play caller, when you lose a guy of Amari's caliber that late in the week, how much extra work does that create for your game plan, or do you just kind of plug a new guy into what you're going to do?
I mean, that's a great point. I think really the timing, number one, is something you got to really take a look at. But the fact of the matter, we're going in with 6 receivers, and we felt the concepts of regularity we would just stay with. But the things that we had tagged for certain individuals, we just had to move that around a little bit because you want to. Make sure you just want to have one player that can just run this play. You always want to have it backed up. So just getting those particular situational calls ironed out was probably really the only challenge. The biggest challenge was the in-game injuries. That's the toughest part. And Cedric was had some things he was fighting through. Obviously CD was injured. So and that's where things got a little tough.
How similar does this Raiders defense look to the AFC West ones that have challenged y'all? And I know there's lots of coaching overlaps, but when you're going against a guy like Brad Marinelli who knows this offense well, how does that affect the matchup?
They're different. I mean, I think this is more Gus. You can see Rod's influence at the way they play up front, but it's they're established. There's I think how they're going to play us within their scheme will probably see more particular be more aggressive outside is what I would anticipate going into the game. But they're on a short week also too, so I don't see them changing a whole bunch. I think the biggest thing for us offensively is just to be dialed into obviously the pressures that we may see with the base concepts and so forth. We feel like we do get a lot of reps against that. There are some similarities between our defense and their defense.
Generally, are offensive game plans scaled back on weeks like this?
Well, it's really the week before. You carry a little more of the week. Like we went a little heavier into Kansas City with the anticipation of being on a short week, and I think our coaches did an outstanding job of something I said, Rich. No? Okay. Our coaches did a really good job in the pre-planning. And our quality control coaches actually, I thought, knocked it out of the park. So we were able to come right in and get into, this morning looked like a Wednesday, or this afternoon they were during the weight room this morning. So we were able to jump right into the a Wednesday type meeting.
Do you have anything for us?
Okay.
No.
You mentioned the run game. I just want to go back to that. Do you feel that you didn't run it enough? Just give yourself more opportunities at it, or was it what they were doing led you to not run it as often?
Well, I think, stating the obvious. You look at the productivity of our offense. It's when the ball is distributed, with between rushes and completions, we're a juggernaut. And we didn't get the ball distributed. And part of that is we normally run the ball 30 plus times. And that's when our numbers are at its best. That's part of the equation. So. But hey, it's different when you're in the game and you're calling it. How you handle certain things that go on throughout the game. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a little more efficiency on first and second down. I think particularly would have been beneficial. So, but we'll get back at it this week against the Raiders.
Have you been in games before when you were calling games where, again, you had that number in mind of what's best for your team going into the game, but like you say, each series kind of takes on a little bit different tone, and then in the third quarter or something, you look up and go, well, I'm so far away from it now. Do I get back to it? Do I just continue to do what I'm doing?
Well, I think that's part of play calling and the experience of it too. You always have a course and a path that you want to set the game on. You have how you want to attack them. Everybody works on how you start the game, the first 15, and no different than how our defense looks as offenses. So we're very, very in tune with how those first 15 plays are called. But the discipline is to try to get back on course when they knock you off course, and that's the true challenge, and that's always the challenge in these type of games. And and the other factor, I think we talked about it earlier, is big play production. I think it was talk about big plays as a team. I think if I recall, is they had 9 big plays. We only had 3 in the first half. That's so that was probably a big part of the difference between the scoreboard, because other than that, like you said, we never felt that we were out of the game. We just felt that we weren't being efficient enough to put drives together and score touchdowns as an offense, because defense did a nice job keeping us in the game.
Thank you.
Thank you.